Okay, so you're going to start this off and you're going to need a ruler taped down to your piece of paper. You're going to need at least one good sized set square. It doesn't need to be anything more than a dollar store set square. It's a little bit easier if you have two. So you're going to start by doing a vertical line. And then to do a horizontal line, you can either do it this way, you can do it this way, and you just keep your ruler, your set square, on your ruler, and then set this one up against it, and that'll give you a line that's parallel to your baseline. This is going to be a long video, so I'm going to have to do it in sections probably. So you're going to start off with cross section. I'm going to continue this line over. So you have big crosshairs. That is step one. And then you're going to measure over a couple of inches. Let's go centimeters because we're Canadian, right? So I'm going to go over 5 centimeters. I'm going to mark a line and go over 5 more centimeters, mark a line, up 5, down 5. So there's my up 5, down 5. Then I'm going to run a vertical line here. You're going to do all your lines nice and lightly. I'm going to do them a little bit darker right now so you can see them in the video better. And then do a horizontal line here. So I've got this nice and snug. If we had a drafting table, then we could use a drafting table. And then another one down here at this point. So these are our 4 quadrants. This is going to be our side view, our front view, and our top view. So side, front, top. Okay. Then we are going to turn our set square. We're going to go from this corner where the lines intersect all the way across. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Again, you're drawing very lightly for these. You don't need to make it too dark. Try to avoid this. This should all line up properly. So at some point my ruler wasn't touching, or my set square wasn't touching my ruler. It is fairly important. If I had a longer ruler or a bigger drawing area, I could tape it further out so my tape isn't in the way. I'm going to cross that. Cross this one, and cross this one. Oops. And I'm just going from the corner. It should go all the way up to this other corner, like that. Okay? Now, that gives us the center of these 3 points. We do not have to cross this one. This is our transfer line. Transfer line. And what it's going to do is it's going to transfer our design from our side view to our top view and put everything in the correct positions. So I am not going to be too particular on these numbers here, but I'm going to draw from 7. I'm going to make this a 6 millimeter line. So I'm centering it on, actually I guess I'll do it at 0. So I'm going 3 millimeters over, and then I'm going to go 3 millimeters over the other side. And then I want this roughly to be 3 centimeters tall. So I'm going to go from 0 to 3, centered on 15 millimeters. So that's pretty thin, but for the purposes of the demo, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to transfer. When I do a vertical line, I actually transfer it all the way up to here. Do the same thing on the other side. Again, it's a vertical line, so it's actually going up and it's going to touch up here. Now I'm going to do my horizontal lines. And when I do these, this is the top side view, and it's going to transfer over all the way over here. And I'm lining this line up and it transfers over here. These lines that cross up here are transfer line for the top of the ring. So where they intersect, right here, it turns 90 degrees and goes over here. This one, where it intersects, goes over 90 degrees. So this is the top of my ring. We, however, do not know the diameter of the ring yet. So we're going to assume that the inside of this ring has thickness. We do a dotted line, or a dashed line, I should say, because it is, it's a hole, it's a cut through. So we then transfer this over to there. This becomes our radius. If we have a compass, we can use a compass to draw our hole in our ring. I'm hoping that I don't need a compass for this because I don't want to look for my compass. So I'm going to center a circle on here by lining all of these lines up that touch this bottom line. That way I know getting there. So that's basically it, although that's really big. So it means that this thing's not going to be centered. So my ring hole should be centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the reverse. I'm going to choose a ring size that I want. Let's go with this. This is our ring hole size here, and then I'll transfer that over. So I'm going to go from this edge onto here, lines up here, 1, 2, 3, and that means this ring is really thick now, so I'm going to actually just thin the ring out to an appropriate size here. Okay, so I'm going to go by these lines, and I can figure that out as I go. And then I'm going to transfer this over. This is the top of the ring hole up here. This is the top of the ring up here. So on this side view, we know that this has a top. We can now decide if it's going to be something fancy on the top. I can take and, well, I can freehand out a couple of curves. First of all, I'm going to make sure that this has the same thickness, so I'm just measuring over a millimeter and a bit, and then I'm going to say that the top of my ring scoops in from here down to here. Now, I could use French curves for this, but as we don't have French curves, it's too difficult to use them and getting used to them. So we go from that side down to the vertical point, and I could run a line through here to get these vertical lines as well. So that gives us the bottom of the ring. This gives us the top of the ring. Once we, and I'm just basically adding some design. Once we have this, I can run this vertically where they crisscross these lines, and I know the top of the ring is this width. If I decide, what am I doing? To put a cab off center here, like so, then that's going to transfer, my location is going to be calculated by doing this on the bottom. And if it's a cab, it's going to have a certain amount of height off the top of the ring. Now that I have this sticking up, I know that it has to be transferred over. So if you're doing all of this nice and light, it's going to show up, it's going to be that high off this top line from side to side. So I know that over here this is going to be viewed like that as a sphere or a semicircle here. So this is the top of my ring. And if I'm doing, let's say I'm going to do a square cutout here. This, similar to before, is transferred over and is represented by a dashed line, and it would also be represented up here as a dashed line, and it would also have one from this point, and that would have one right here as well, almost lining up with that, so it's going to disappear in there. So that's the gist of it. We transfer all of this stuff in. If I've done something on this side where I've curved it or I've stepped it like this, then this would get transferred up. This would get transferred up and transferred over like that. And then that'll give us all of our information. And basically this line, by transferring it over, will start to create this drawing, vice versa. It doesn't really matter which one you start off with. It's easiest if you start with your circle and you do your front view and start getting that, and then you transfer it over, and as you add things to here, you will then transfer them down. So it's critically important that you start your drawings very lightly for this. And then when you are done doing this, you will choose which drawing, which one of these. Actually, I think no, you have to do all of them. So you're going to then shade in each one of these. I'll have to check the project. I'm not sure if I shortened it or not. Some of these would then be shaded, so you would render these individually. Normally, this is the sort of drawing we would do to give another jeweler or somebody that's going to create something for us in Rhino or another 3D drawing program. We can, I will show you tomorrow how this is done in the 3D drawing program. It'll make more sense. You'll be able to see that things develop three-dimensionally and get transferred over as they're built.